Hello. I didn't feel that the book World War Z had gotten enough publicity from me. So what I want to do is I want to read my favorite part of this book to you. Of course, written by Max Brooks, copyrighted by him. I don't claim to own this book. I own this copy. I don't own the book itself. Alright. I'm going to read the first part of Chapter 8, which is called Total War. It's at this point in the story that zombies have swept across all over the land, and the last few pockets of humanity, the governments of the world, have come together, and they have made a decision. Attack. Aboard the Maro Altairi, 3,000 feet above Valajärvi, Finland. I stand next to General D'Ambrosia in the CIC, the Combat Information Center, of Europe's answer to the massive US D-29 command and control dirigible. The crew works silently at their glowing monitors. Occasionally, one of them speaks into a headset, a quick, whispered acknowledgement in French, German, Spanish, or Italian. The general leans over a video chart table, watching the entire operation from the closest thing to a god's eye view. Attack. When I first heard that word, my gut reaction was, oh shit. Does that surprise you? Before I can answer, sure it does. You probably expected the brass to just be champing at the bit, all that blood and guts, holding by the nose while we kick him in the ass crap. He shakes his head. I don't know who created the stereotype of the hard-charging, dim-witted high school football coach of a general officer. Maybe it was Hollywood, or the civilian press. Or maybe we did it to ourselves by allowing those insipid, egocentric clowns, the MacArthurs and the Halseys and the Curtis E. LeMays, to define our image to the rest of the country. Point is, that was the image of those in uniform, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I was scared to death of taking our armed forces on the offensive, more so because it wouldn't be my ass hanging out in the fire. I'd only be sending others out to die, and here's what I'd be sending them against. He turns to another screen on the far wall, nodding to an operator, and the image dissolves into a wartime map of continental United States. 200 million zombies. Who can even visualize that type of number, let alone combat it? At least this time around we knew what we were combating, but when you added up all the experience, all the data we'd compiled on their origin, their physiology, their strengths, their weaknesses, their motives, and their mentality, it still presented us with a very gloomy outtake for victory. The Book of War, the one we've been writing since one ape slapped another, was completely useless in this situation. We had to write a new one from scratch. All armies, be they mechanized or mountain guerrilla, have to abide by 3 basic restrictions. They have to be bred, led, and fed. Fed. Once you've got an army, you've got to be supplied. And led. No matter how decentralized any fighting force is, there has to be someone among them with the authority to stand up and say, follow me. And bred. You've got to have warm bodies, or else you don't have an army. Bred, led, and fed. And none of these restrictions applied to the living dead. Did you ever read All Quiet on the Western Front? Remarque paints a vivid picture of Germany becoming empty, meaning that toward the end of the war, they were simply running out of soldiers. You can fudge the numbers, send the old men and little boys, but eventually you're going to hit the ceiling. Unless every time you killed an enemy, he came back to life, and on your side. That's how Zack operated, swelling their ranks by thinning ours. And it only worked one way. Infect a human, he becomes a zombie. Kill a zombie, he becomes a corpse. We could only get weaker, and they could only get stronger. All human armies need supplies, and this army didn't. No food, no ammo, not fuel, not water to drink or air to breathe. There was no logistic line to sever, no depots to destroy. You couldn't just surround and starve them out or let them wither on the vine. Lock 100 of them in a room, and 3 years later they'll come out just as deadly. It's ironic that the only way to kill a zombie is to destroy its brain, because as a group they have no collective brain to speak of. There was no leadership, no chain of command, no communication or cooperation on any level. There was no president to assassinate, no HQ bunker to surgically strike. Each zombie is its own, self-contained, automated unit, and this last advantage is what truly escalated the entire conflict. You've heard the expression total war. It's pretty common throughout human history. Every generation or so, some gasbag likes to spout about how his people have declared total war against an enemy, meaning that every man, woman, and child within his nation was committing every second of their lives to victory. That is bullshit on two basic levels. First of all, no country or group is ever 100% committed to war. It's just not physically possible. You can have a high percentage, so many people working so hard for so long, but all of the people, all of the time? What about the malingerers or the conscientious objectors? What about the sick, the injured, the very old, or very young? What about when you're sleeping, eating, taking a shower, or taking a dump? Is that a dump for victory? That's the reason total war is that's the first reason total war is impossible for humans. The second is that all nations have their limits. There might be individuals within that group who are willing to sacrifice their lives. It might even be a relatively high number for a population. But that population as a whole will eventually reach its maximum emotional and psychological breaking point. The Japanese reached theirs with a couple of bombs. The Vietnamese might have reached theirs if we dropped a couple more, but thank all holy Christ, our will broke before it came to that. That is the nature of human warfare, two sides trying to push the other past its limit of endurance. And no matter how much we like to talk about the total war, that limit is always there. Unless you're the living dead. For the first time in history, we faced an enemy that was actively waging total war. They had no limits of endurance. They would never negotiate, never surrender. They would fight until the very end because, unlike us, every single one of them, every second of the day, was devoted to consuming all life on Earth. That's the kind of enemy that was waiting for us behind the Rockies. That's the kind of war we had to fight. That passage right there blows my mind. It honestly does. It's incredible, really. To put zombies like that in that kind of perspective, it's true. They will never give up, never negotiate, never... I cannot say anything that passage right there didn't say. This is one hell of a book, and you have got to pick it up. On another note related to this, I was asked on Renegade boards if you had to pick up the Zombie Survival Guide or this book before the other. And I want to say that doesn't matter. You can pick up the Zombie Survival Guide, you can pick up World War Z, you can read either one. Me, I got the Zombie Survival Guide first. That was just sort of a setup for this, but really, it doesn't matter because they're both incredible books, and you have not known anything about zombies until you read one or both of these books. I give these books, both of them, 5 out of 5s, 10 out of 10s, 100 out of 100. Thanks for listening.